What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and the New York Giants had one productive offseason. They signed a bunch of top-name free agents, went into the 2023 NFL Draft, and unanimously were praised, especially for those first three selections that they made: cornerback Deontay Banks in round one, center John Michael Schmitz in round two, and of course, round three, Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. An exciting offseason for Big Blue. They really upgraded their roster on both sides of the ball, found bona fide starters on the offensive side, on the defensive side, massive upgrades at linebacker, wide receiver, cornerback, so on and so forth. It was a good offseason for the New York Giants, but are they done? Well, maybe, but they don't have to be. Now, I understand the New York Giants don't have the best salary cap situation right now. Broke that down on the channel last week. Go back, take a look at it, reviewing the Giants salary cap space if you want to see more on that topic. But they do have a lot of ways to make some space. They could restructure a few contracts, extend a few contracts. They could create some cap space if they want to, and they could still make a few more roster moves in preparation for the 2023 season if they so choose. And I think I identified three roster moves that they might want to make. I think these are moves that they should consider as we inch through this slow point of the offseason and look ahead to the exciting times of September. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to break down three roster moves the Giants could still make this offseason despite having spent most of their cap space and acquiring a lot of talent this offseason. These are three moves that I think they should still consider making. But before we dive into those moves, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on the topic down below in the comment section. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into these three roster moves the New York Giants could still make this offseason. The first one being this guy right here, Justin Houston. Now, this is a veteran pass rusher, a linebacker who many of you probably know for his heyday with the Kansas City Chiefs. 22 sacks in one season, nearly broke Michael Strahan's sack record, but he didn't. And now, two teams later, he was on the Chiefs, then the Colts, then the Baltimore Ravens. He is a free agent who's struggling to find the team. 34 years old, Houston, an aging veteran. This is the twilight of his career, but he's got a familiarity with New York Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. He played in Baltimore in 2021, the final season that Martindale was coaching in Baltimore before leaving for the New York Giants. And in that season, Houston played pretty well. He had a good year under Wink Martindale's tutelage. Now, this was an idea that was pitched by Matt Bowen of ESPN. I wrote an article kind of diving deeper into what Justin Houston could bring to the Giants today on EmpireSportsMedia.com. But here's what Bowen had to say. Houston could fit with multiple teams in search of a veteran pass rusher, but let's get him back under former Baltimore defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, who joined New York in 22. Houston, who has 14 sacks over the past two seasons, pretty good number there, played for Martindale in 2021, posting 4.5 sacks at 35 pressures, also pretty good numbers. And we know the fit works for a Giants defense that can use him as a situational pass rusher in pressure fronts. Martindale's defense led the NFL last season with a blitz rate of 42%, which will create more one-on-ones for Houston with schemes that manipulate protection counts. Now, I agree with that analysis 1,000%. I thought that was well put by Matt Bowen of ESPN. And listen, when you look at what Justin Houston can provide to this team, I think there's two aspects that he can really help contribute to in the Giants defense. First of all, that's the aspect of situational pass rushing, right? When the Giants are on third down, they need an extra guy out there on the field who can get after the quarterback. Justin Houston, maybe not the fastest guy, maybe not the quickest guy anymore in his, older age, but he's still got that power and he still has that tenacity to bull rush an offensive tackle and find his way into the lap of a quarterback. So I think he can help. Not playing the whole game. This is not a guy that I would want starting 3 downs for the Giants, but of course, we wouldn't need him to. We have Kayvon Thibodeau. We have Azeez Ojulari. Those are going to be your starting pass rushers if they both stay healthy all season. I just think that Houston could do a good job of giving those guys a breather here and there, or just going out there when they need an extra pass rusher on the field and helping contribute with those guys, maybe free up a one-on-one opportunity for a Thibodeau or an Ojulari, just command a little bit of attention that opens things up for someone else. Now, the second aspect that I think he contributes to is mentorship, leadership, right? Now, he would be the second former Baltimore pass rusher to join Wink Martindale up in New York. First one being Jihad Ward. Now, we know that Jihad Ward has been a tremendous locker room presence for New York since his time here. He earned himself a second contract with the team after playing pretty well last season as a rotational pass rusher. And I think that Houston could fit that exact same mold, right? It doesn't hurt to have two guys who can kind of do the same thing with leadership in the locker room, mentorship for Thibodeau and Ojulari, and also quality snaps as a rotational guy. I think Houston fits the bill there. could do that alongside Jihad Ward and just continue to thrive underneath Wink Martindale's coaching style. Because again, this is a player in Houston who Martindale seemed to get the most out of despite his older age. And I think we're seeing the same with Jihad Ward. So I would like to see both of these guys kind of team back up with Martindale and contribute as those backup pass rushers for Thibodeau and Ojulari. So I really like this idea. I think this is a move the Giants should make. Low contract, 1 year, $3 to $5 million. Who does that hurt? Nobody, in my opinion. Incentive laden contract, maybe. I like this idea. But let's move on to the second roster move that the New York Giants could make this offseason. And this is going to be on the offensive side of the ball. And that's going to be the idea of signing, free agent guard from the Denver Broncos, Dalton Risner. Now, we know that left guard spot is one of concern for the New York Giants. So, for the most part, I think that we feel kind of comfortable going into the season with Joshua Zito and Ben Bredesen as our left guard competition, but realistically, it wouldn't hurt to have another name thrown into the mix. And Dalton Risner is a longtime NFL starter who's been a pretty dang good player for the majority of his career, could step in there and potentially steal that job from either one of those guys if the Giants were to sign him. Now, again, the Giants might be content to go with their in-house talent, maybe don't want to spend the money going for a free agent guard, but if we're just looking around, surveying the options and seeing who's out there, Dalton Risner does stand out as a starting level left guard that could potentially serve as an upgrade on the Giants offensive line. Here's some stats on Risner. He's been consistently above average in terms of his PFF pass blocking grades. He's had a 69.5 plus pass blocking grade, which is, again, slightly above average in each of the last 4 seasons, according to PFF, which is a pretty good number. 2019 second round pick, has started at least 15 games for the Denver Broncos at left guard in each of the last 4 seasons. Powerful guy, again, good pass protector, but also does some pretty good work in the run game. A very strong offensive guard with a lot of power in his pad level. And again, a projected contract for this guy would be around 1 year, maybe a maximum of about $5 million. Listen, sign me up. I think that's a good deal for a veteran guard who's been in the league for 4 years, started for 4 years, and has the potential to maybe start again if he signs with the right team. And the Giants could potentially be that right team. So, again, we'll see what happens throughout OTAs, throughout training camp, especially once the pads come on, and we see how Joshua Zito is performing. We see what Ben Bredesen looks like this year. If those guys are playing well and they look like they're going to be high-quality starters for us, by all means, just rock with them. But if Dalton Risner kind of just creeps into this team because those two aren't playing too well, he could totally steal that starting job, in my opinion. Again, this is a 4-year starter who was a good player for the Broncos. Kind of surprised that he didn't get signed in free agency this offseason, but he's still out there. He's still available, and he does make sense for the Giants in my mind. But again, maybe they just want to roll with what they've got. And if that's what they choose to do, I don't mind it. The Giants banking on Zito and Bredesen to pan out. Hopefully one of them does if they don't decide to go out there and look for some additional players in free agency. But let's talk about my third and final roster move that I think the New York Giants can make. I looked around here at all the different projected trades, projected signings that people are still making. There was one that stood out that I'm not going to say that the Giants can make because it doesn't make much sense to me. But ESPN said in an article recently that the Giants should try and trade for Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the Kansas City Chiefs. In my opinion, bad idea. That's why it's not on my 3 moves. My next move I'll get into in a second, but I just wanted to mention there are some other opportunities out there for the Giants to make trades. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one of the ones that I saw pitched out there. I think that whoever wrote that forgot that the Giants drafted Eric Gray, a player who I think could be a starter in this league under the right circumstances. And I think that, you know what, if they need somebody to back up Saquon Barkley, they already got him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not the move. I'm fine rolling into the season with Eric Gray as the number 2 back, rookie 5th-round pick for the Giants out of Oklahoma. So we could scratch that one off the list. Some other moves that I didn't want to get into. I already did a video breaking down DeAndre Hopkins. You want to hear my take on that, go back on the channel. Plus, I think he's going to be outside of the New York Giants price range, unfortunately. They said they're going to look into it, but I do think he's going to be out of their price range. But there's also some other moves. Budda Baker, again, another one. Giants, I don't think that they can make a trade like that for a player of that caliber. There's some other pass rushers out there. Leonard Floyd does make sense, but I thought Houston made more sense. Yannick Ngakoue, same situation there. Marcus Peters, a player that a lot of Giants fans have mentioned. A lot of injury history, and I'm content with what the Giants have in their secondary right now at the cornerback spot. Maybe not at safety, which we're going to get into in just a second here, but at cornerback, I think a lot of Giants fans are sleeping on Amani Oruwariye. The Giants signed him this offseason. Penn State product, who just spent 3 years with the Detroit Lions. had a really good year, not last season, but the season prior, had a really bad year this past season. But I still think that there's something there. This is a player who probably could compete and be a solid backup for the Giants at that spot. And then another player out there that Giants fans might want, get excited about, Devin White, athletic linebacker. Again, not necessary anymore with the signing of Bobby Okereke, kind of play the same role. And I think Okereke is arguably a better player anyway, and I don't want to invest draft capital in the trading for Devin White just to play alongside Okereke. So those are some moves I'm scratching off the list for the most part. Not really too crazy about any of those ideas that have been pitched for the Giants. But let's dive into this third potential roster move that the Giants can make that I actually do like. And this is, again, another one of those low-key veteran players that the Giants could probably get on a one-year maximum of $5 million. Adrian Amos. So he's a safety, was with the Bears, was with the Packers, had a real down year in 2022, but still a veteran who I think that could fit into the Giants defense in the way that he has a lot of experience playing in the box. And when you're looking at the construction of the Giants secondary right now, they have Xavier McKinney, their ball hawking, rangy free safety. But the departure of Julian Love is one that I feel like not enough Giants fans are really acknowledging. That's a big loss for this Giants defense. I'm not sure exactly who's starting at that box safety position, who's going to be playing that role for the team this year. I think Dane Belton has a good chance. Bobby McCain, not really in my opinion. He's much more of a free safety than he is a box safety. I don't really trust him in that role. Maybe they throw extra linebackers on the field, but again, kind of thin behind Okereke at that position, so it doesn't really make sense to me. I think it would be worthwhile for the Giants to try and go out there and find another safety with experience playing in the box. And again, Adrian Amos, now later stages of his career. He's 30 years old. He doesn't have the speed that he used to have. So I don't want him as your free safety ranging on the back end. I think that he can play well in the box. A high floor signing. This isn't a guy that the Giants would sign and all of a sudden he just has a spectacular season with Big Blue. He's not going to be that level of player, but what he can be is just solid quality tackling and quality coverage skills, just an average starter, a rotational guy from that safety position, just in case, if the Giants were to suffer any injury. Dane Belton had an injury last season. If he were to get injured again, I think that we do need some more depth back there to fill in that spot. Now, some of you might be saying, what about the rookie that we drafted, Javarius Owens, free safety? He hasn't played in the box. He didn't do it in college during his time at Houston, was a 4-year starter at Houston, but played free safety. Big difference in terms of what the positions ask for between playing in the box and playing in that deep half or that deep quarter. So I do think that there's a lot to be said about adding another safety on this Giants roster. So when I'm looking at 3 moves that they could still make this offseason, Adrian Amos does fit the bill for me. Again, veteran player. When you look at his career stats, he started 17 games for the Packers last year. He had an interception. He had 5 pass breakups. He had 102 combined tackles, 7 tackles for loss. He can make an impact in the running game. And we talked all offseason long about the Giants. They had a really poor run defense last year. They need to add some bodies who can get involved in that way. Adrian Amos could potentially be one of those players that gets involved as a run defending box safety. So again, another player that I like for the Giants. I think all 3 of these guys make sense for them. None of them are necessary. I don't think that they have to go out there and make any of these signings. But if they did, I think that these are players that can make a pretty big contribution to this team in the right situation. Like I said with Justin Houston, a specific third down where you need an extra pass rusher out there. He can maybe pressure a guy. That could change the course of a game. Having a player that can go in there in a pinch and make a play can change the course of a game. Amos could probably start games for the Giants this year. If they were to go ahead and try and sign Risner, I think that he would become the starting left guard this upcoming season. So again, all 3 of these signings, they make sense. They'd be low-cost contracts, cheap deals that the Giants can make, 1-year deals for these veteran players still available. And again, I think that these could be moves that really do have a big impact on the outcome of certain games or certain plays for the Giants this upcoming season. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Did I miss anybody? Are there still some other moves that you want to make? Don't say DeAndre Hopkins. Again, we all want to see it happen, but we all don't know if it necessarily should or would. So don't say Hopkins, but bring me some other ideas and maybe I'll break them down in future episodes over players that the Giants could still consider signing or trading for ahead of the 2023 season. But those are my 3 players that I selected. Again, let me know what you think of them and make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Ring the bell so you do not miss an episode, and I will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.